And this is part of the secret. So who do we know? Who is someone that we can look to? Who is a role model that we can say, wow, this guy. Yeah, well, he's pursuing what he wants. Okay. Well, one of my heroes. Some of you recognize him already, some of you don't. Okay. Hello, clicker. Richard Branson. This guy does things because he loves them, because they intrigue him. He has this compass that he follows, something I'm going to talk to you about. This guy knows, and he follows it. And would we call him happy or unhappy? From everything we've read, from everything we experienced about Richard Branson's life. Of course, absolutely, right? And it doesn't mean that he doesn't have a little bit of hedonia in his life. He has no women everywhere, but he's got his wife, he's got his family, he's got Necker Island, this enormous freaking beautiful island, right? Of course he buys himself these things, okay? But his life, what drives him on a day-to-day basis? When Richard Branson is faced with a life decision, do you think he goes, this is totally runs contrary to what I want to achieve in life, but yeah, whatever, it'll make me happy for a short while. It's not how the decision-making process works. Okay? Success in anything, to be successful, in anything that you're going to be here talking about today, all the talkers, you're going to need to what? Be happy. If you're not happy about it, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Who's heard of flow before? A couple of you. Flow is this concept that was first studied by a Hungarian researcher by the name of, anyone want to tell me how to pronounce that? Yeah, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, right? It's a complicated name. It's a complicated guy. He had an amazing life through, his family running away from World War II and all this crap going on, and he really had a tough childhood. And his research led to this concept called flow. And what is flow? Flow is, how about I use the definition, the mental state of operation in which a person is performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement and enjoyment in the process of the activity. Flow. Now what he found was that when someone's in this magical state, I'll talk a bit more about it in a second, when you're in this magical state, your creativity is off the charts. Your productivity is off the charts. And your ability to learn is off the charts. And it is one of the most pleasurable feelings. And there's no come down. So when will you get a state of flow? Who here has found that they sit down to do a task? And maybe the task is writing a letter. For me, it might be writing an article. For you, it might be starting to write something. It could be an essay for something. It could be an email to someone. And you start writing it, and you're not necessarily that engaged. You start writing, and after a while, you become totally locked in. And you're in this do state. And this is one of the beauties of being a man, by the way, is that while we have a very undeveloped corpus callosum, that is the part that joins the left and right hemispheres, and we're not very good at multitasking, boy, can we focus. We love our do state as men. And when we're locked into this state, we don't want anything to distract us, do we? We know it. Sometimes we get it when we're running. Sometimes we get it at the gym. Sometimes we get it in an interaction with a woman. We're just in this state where everything fades away and you're just locked in that moment. Okay? And when that happens, we learn the quickest, we feel the happiest, we feel this eudaimonic happiness state. Okay? Video games, you probably might not know this, are built around this concept of flow. So when does flow occur? Flow occurs, guys, when you're engaged in something that's tricky, that's hard, that requires attention, but not so hard that it frustrates you. It's a magical state. And video games are all designed to keep you at just that level. Just that level. They're designed every time, it starts easy, and then it gets harder and harder and harder. And ideally, the perfect video game gets harder at exactly the same rate that you learn. So it stays a little bit difficult, but not too difficult. Because what happens if you're playing a video game, guys, and it gets just too tough? Yeah, you're like, whatever, I'm going to go get something to eat, I'm going to leave this for another day, blah, blah, blah. But if you're just in that point where you're like I can totally do this, what happens? You lock in, right? I remember when I was a kid, right? Mom comes in, Damien, you should have lunch. She goes, go away, I'm in the middle of this. You don't want anything, you don't want food, you don't want women, you don't want anything because you're in that state of flow. That's exactly where you want to be. That's the only place you want to be. Businesses around the world are starting to adopt this idea of flow Okay? Because if they can get their work people into this state more often, they're going to be more productive. And they're going to be happier, and they're not going to want to leave the job. It wins on all fronts. Flow is a perfect example of a eudaimonic happiness state. It's a perfect example of it. Guys, we have studied extensively, exhaustively, put a lot of people through these MRI machines. Who wants to guess who would be the happiest people we've ever recorded? Ever. Who might that be? And I'm not just talking happier, like, an average person scores like a 7 out of 10, this person's like an 8 out of 10. Okay, when we put the right people through these machines, they're scoring like well off the charts compared to the average. Ridiculous. Who are they, guys? Meditative monks. When we put them through these MRI machines, these guys get off the charts. What does that mean? It means that when we look at their brains, when something bad happens, okay, the amount of glucocorticoids, stress hormones, that course through their bodies is so much lower. So much lower than the average person. So they straight away, they feel less reactive, right off the bat. And then the amount of endorphins, the amount of counter-glucocorticoid breakdown products that they create, off the charts. So not only do they not get really bugged by things when things go wrong, when things don't go the way they want, not only that, but it lasts like 5 seconds. Bam, problem solved. Yeah, okay. That's a little bit annoying, but whatever. Wouldn't it be great if we could go through life like that? Okay? If things could go totally wrong and we can just be like, oh man, that's a shame. Okay, anyway. Wouldn't that be amazing? That's what these people do. And there's a book that I recommend you guys read, by the way, called The Happiest Man Alive. The Happiest Man Alive. Okay, it's about I think it's a French microbiologist who actually leaves his life to become a monk. And he's the head man that they were doing a lot of these tests with. Okay, and it was completely off the charts. And he's written a book about this concept of happiness as well. So how does a Buddhist monk live their lives? I'm sure some of you guys know, okay? First thing they do is they forego any ownership. Okay, ownership, monks can't own anything, right? They live their lives from donation, but they're not allowed to own. The other thing they do is their whole lives are about pursuit. What? Pursuit of being present. Okay? Pursuit of understanding the philosophy that is Buddhism. Pursuit of trying to spread and trying to make the world a better place. It's pursuit. There's no endpoint goal in their lives. Okay? They're not allowed to go, oh, I want to get that car. I want to get that mobile phone. Their lives are locked down. You don't want your lives to be locked down. But it's a case in point. It's an extreme example. It's an extreme example of how this all fits together. These happiest people in the world. We can move in this direction without having to forego everything in the world, but I tell you what, that is the easiest way to do it. But I like sex way too much to become a monk. I considered it for about 5 seconds. So guys, here's the thing. How do we go about, it's all great, there's all this theory I've shared with you. How does this come together in a way that we can go, okay, this sounds interesting. I want to be happier. How are you going to put that into your lives in some sort of a way that makes some sort of goddamn sense? Okay, first things first.